And a very good evening. We begin at 5 with a wildfire season in Oregon that suddenly got more active. The Double Creek fire in the northeastern part of the state rapidly grew over the weekend. It's now burned more than 43,000 acres in the Wallowa National Forest, forcing some evacuations there. Governor Kate Brown also invoking the Emergency Conflagration Act that in part allows the Office of the State Fire Marshal to take command of fire suppression efforts. Authorities say the Double Creek blaze was sparked by lightning. Well, thanks for joining us on this Labor Day. I'm David Molko. Firefighters are also focused on the Rum Creek fire that is burning in southwestern Oregon, with the National Guard now being brought in to help. Let's bring in Daisy Caballero now with an update. Daisy, what's the latest?
Well, David, there are a total of 51 National Guard and State Army troops at the Rum Creek fire right now that has burned over 19,000 acres, and crews are working extra hard tonight to gain more containment on the blaze before tomorrow's fire weather watch.
And we're absolutely thrilled to be able to come and do this and support our communities.
Soldiers and airmen with the Oregon National Guard and Army are lending a helping hand at the Rum Creek fire. This is after the fire exploded in acreage and now stands at over 19,000 acres burned.
We were prepared to get a call.
Tyler Perry with the Oregon National Guard tells me crews were called to help assist with the blaze on August 27th and arrived the following day.
That cold front came through that Friday and blew up the fire to, into a situation where all hands on deck. We need to be there as soon as possible.
In the matter of less than 24 hours for some, crews made it to Josephine County and instantly started their helping efforts. And while crews are trained to help mop up alongside firefighters, this crew of 51 troops were called to assist with traffic enclosures.
We perform a function where we're manning roadblocks 24/7, and that serves a couple of different purposes. One is to keep looters, and it provides a deterrent to bad actors that are looking for an opportunity to get in while people are being evacuated.
Perry says the National Guard has helped out quite a bit with wildfires throughout the last 6 years. So this year, they worked ahead and placed a few crews on standby to help out with ongoing wildfires, which he says is rewarding for all crew members.
We have members of the community that come up and they will give us treats or a lot of appreciations. And so we do have that direct interaction feedback from the general public. And it makes our troops and our airmen feel really good to be able to be out here supporting them.
Now, Army and National Guard troops arrived last Sunday and are expected to stay as long as they're needed, which could take up to 2 weeks or more. The fire is 34% contained. David?
And in terms of containment, that is progress. Thank you, Daisy. Across the state line in Northern California, the mill fire has claimed 2 lives. It burned through the town of Weed, that's about 50 miles from the Oregon border, forcing thousands of people from their homes. More than 100 buildings were destroyed or damaged. The cause of that fire still under investigation. Working to get more details this evening in Clark County after deputies arrested a man who allegedly kidnapped a woman in her car at knife point. Authorities say the woman was near Mill Plain and Grand Boulevard in Vancouver early Saturday morning when a man walked up and asked her for some water. Now, the details here raise a lot more questions, but police say she gave him water and then let him into her car. That is when they say the suspect pulled out a knife and took control of the wheel with the woman still inside. Police say the woman jumped out all the way over in Camas around 4:30 in the morning and started banging on doors for help. Deputies say they caught the suspect after a chase. He has not yet been identified, but has been charged with robbery, kidnapping, and reckless driving. Well, tragedy in Seaside today where a kayaker died out in the waves. Police say they got a call this morning before 11 about an empty kayak spotted in the ocean. Witnesses say the victim was in a group of kayakers off 4th Avenue, but somehow got separated from his kayak. His body was found in the water. He was taken to the hospital, but he did not survive. Authorities say he is a man in his 50s. He reportedly was wearing a wetsuit, but not a life jacket. New developments tonight on a floatplane crash in Puget Sound. The Coast Guard has now suspended the search with 9 people still missing. The single-engine aircraft went down yesterday afternoon off Whidbey Island in a place called Mutiny Bay. 1 body has been recovered. Eric Wilkinson with our sister station King 5 in Seattle has an update.
Coast Guard cutters searched 2,100 square nautical miles. The body of one female was discovered yesterday by a Good Samaritan. 9 other people on board, including a child, are still unaccounted for. The Coast Guard says 2 float planes took off from Friday Harbor en route to the home base of Northwest Seaplanes in Renton. It was the second plane that went down. Sources tell King 5 a prominent Western Washington winemaker and his family may have been on board. We're not releasing names until they are officially released by the Coast Guard tomorrow morning. Search crews have recovered parts of the plane, but the vast majority remains missing and is likely 200 feet below the water surface. Witnesses say the weather was windy yesterday, and the plane appeared to take a nosedive into the water near Mutiny Bay, west of Whidbey Island. The plane company's owner was tracking the flight when it went down.
There was 2 aircraft that had departed. The second aircraft was the crashed aircraft. He saw it divert towards Port Townsend slightly, tried to make radio contact, and was unable to. Shortly after that, he noticed on his flight tracker that the flight had stopped tracking and notified authorities.
Eric Wilkinson reporting there. The NTSB is now involved. We expect the Coast Guard to release the names of the victims on Tuesday. Well, to an update on a story we brought you about a large homeless camp in Longview, Washington, and ongoing concern from nearby businesses and residents. The city has now declared that camp of more than 150 people a public health emergency, and they're beginning to clear it. Now, this is on city-owned property off Alabama Street. People have been allowed to camp in the area for several years. They are now being moved to a nearby parking lot and have been given new rules to follow, which include keeping tents within a 12 by 12 space. Many, though, feel this is not going to be a long-term solution.
Nothing has changed. It's already starting to become a joke.
It's going to stop violence for a little bit. It's going to get things orderly, but what are they going to do with us after that? They're going to have to either move us back or, like you said, kick us out into other people's backyards again.
We've been talking about this issue for 20 years, probably longer than that. And here we are, 2022, and I don't see that it's really somebody hasn't stepped up to do more to take care of the problem.
We're going to continue to keep an eye on this. It is not clear how long campers can stay, but during the cleanup, the city says it's going to try to prevent them from spreading through the community. Now, we asked the city to clarify those plans, but have not yet heard back. September is National Recovery Month, and today hundreds of people joined hands on the Interstate Bridge to show support for people who are struggling with addiction. Brian Clerkley was there. Brian, this has become an annual gathering for folks really to show each other they are not alone.
Yeah, David, this has been happening for more than 20 years. It's called Hands Across the Bridge, and the event is all about unity for those suffering from addiction and mental health. And I spoke with several people who are in recovery that say this event is a place where they can find support and a place where they won't be judged.
And we are just out here to spread the message that recovery is for every person, every family, and every community.
Hands Across the Bridge is an event to celebrate National Recovery Month. Woo! Hundreds of people walked across the I-5 bridge Monday morning, joined hands, and said a serenity prayer, which represents the peace of mind that comes from recovery. Terry LaCron Myers was one of the original organizers of Hands Across the Bridge. She struggled with addiction throughout her life.
Being on the streets, being an IV user, all of those things, it really, I needed to have people know that there are people who look like me that also need help.
Terry says Hands Across the Bridge started more than 20 years ago as a way to mobilize the recovery community.
We do recover. And how do we celebrate recovery?
Cindy Hannon is now in long-term recovery. She's struggled with addiction most of her life. She's been sober from alcohol for 11 years. She's also struggled with gambling. She says she's grateful for events like this.
I stay out of all facilities that have anything to do with gambling, drinking. I found a new way to live now, and I am so grateful today.
Ann Burris is also on her recovery journey. She's been clean for a little over a year, and at Hands Across the Bridge, she doesn't feel like an outsider.
I'm going to talk about what I'm doing today, and what I'm doing today is I'm working my steps. I got a sponsor, I got a support.
A lot of the people I spoke with say better access to treatment is one thing that will really help people struggling with addiction. David?
And we know Oregon ranks 50th out of 50 states for access to treatment for those who need it. Brian.